Ridge Commons Progressive Development District, or PDD. And I know tonight Ann Riley is here, and Sarah, your last name is?
Castich.
Sarah Costich?
Yes.
There's a Sarah Costich as Costich?
Yes.
Did not know that.
Yes.
The owner's in the house of Costich Engineering. Thanks for what you've done on our conveyance pipe for Coke Fairlight. That's great.
Yep.
So since we have a minute or two that we're ahead of time, I just want to recap. This is a follow-up to August 8th. August 8th, at that workshop, actually Mike Montalto, close, he did the presentation that night. And at the end, really the board, it was about a 20-minute presentation. The board wanted to see the actual minutes and or resolutions from November and December of 2019 when the Progressive Development District was set up, because there was a lot of discussion back and forth, and Charlie, you were very much involved in it, that it seemed interesting that the PDD was set up over two zoning classifications, over MH, or what is it, Josh? MHR, but also MC.
Correct.
And there was a lot of back and forth. I'm not going to take 20 minutes to rehash the 20 minutes. People can go watch that video from August 8th. But it was seemed unusual that a PDD for housing would be on a commercial one, because the PDD doesn't usually change the essence of what the zoning is. But it seemed to be a moot point because Building 7, where this developer was going to buy off of the Fox family, and they were anxious to apply for a grant by September 15th with the state to put, what do you call it, workforce housing. Now, the fact that you're back here on October 7th, I don't want to assume anything, because whenever I assume, I get smoked. But is that buyer no longer in play because you didn't come back before September 15th's grant application, or is the buyer still in play and they decided not to pursue the grant?
At this point, we understand from the buyer, I represent the Fox family and
Okay.
Ann Riley, but I wasn't here for that meeting, so I really didn't
Neither
know.
was I.
I didn't know all the back and forth. But that particular purchaser, we almost basically lost them because we couldn't explain what their use was here. They weren't comfortable with the use. They have expressed they never did find another piece of property for the grant application for September 15th of this year, but they're still interested for next year.
Okay.
So that's what they're saying. We didn't get them to sign a contract yet. I'm not going to tell you they're on the hook, but that's when we need to straighten this out, because the way we're looking at it, I understand your point about the zoning issue, but the way the PDD, the final, I don't know if that's what's up there, but on the PDD map, it has a chart that shows each parcel and what the use for that parcel would be. This parcel was multifamily / elder care, which my client understood that to be, I guess we all interpret it to be multifamily, including elder care, not exclusively elder care. And that's how I think the town staff is interpreting it, that it was exclusively for senior housing. But that's not what we're getting interest in. We have this multifamily workforce housing. That's one interest. There was a previous interested party as well for multifamily. But again, they got scared away because of the zone. So what we'd like to do, what we're asking, what we'd like the board to do is either to consider or hopefully make an amendment to the PDD to clarify, any multiple family use, not just elderly. And that, I don't know what the process would be for that, if that's going to be a public hearing, if you have the ability to do that without a public hearing. But we want to get this started so that we're not stuck again with that short time frame next year.
Sure, and if I understand correctly, the buyer is still in play, but it's not such a crisis urgency because they're not going to.
They lost their deadline. They couldn't make the deadline.
Right.
So now they have enough time.
Right.
Hopefully there's enough time to deal with this issue, get this cleared up so that they can make their application.
Okay. And Ann, you said that you weren't at the meeting.
No.
And I couldn't tell because I've watched the video a couple of times because I was not here that night either. Mike was the only one that came up to the podium. Actually, Charlie did at the end.
Yeah, Charlie.
But I just didn't know, Ann, if you were in crowd and the camera didn't
No,
pan.
no, I wasn't
Have you
there.
watched the video of that meeting?
No, I have not.
Okay.
But we had all this, we went through and looked at all the documentation from 2019 as well. And at that point, there was a buyer. There was a buyer for the storage, and there was also a buyer for the senior housing on that particular parcel.
Right.
They eventually went, didn't pursue for
Sure.
a certain period of time. COVID hit, and then they just went away.
That's exactly. I got 3 pages of notes I took from the video. It was 20 minutes on August 8th. Mike Montaldo told that exact story, 2019, November, December, public hearing, make the PDD. Then COVID hit, storage was down the street, senior housing. There was a question by Patty, who was running the meeting, is this for rent or own? There was not really an answer, but then Charlie came up at the end and said, I'm pretty sure they're looking to rent.
Yeah, it's
The
all
owners are
rental.
looking to rent it to the workforce housing.
Yeah, there's a state funding program for the workforce housing, which is
Sure.
basically for people in the workforce. It's not affordable type housing.
Now, I know that our town clerk, who is phenomenal, less than 12 hours after that board workshop, sent out to the town board and to the town attorney the resolutions and the board minutes from November and December of 19. Did you get those also from us?
Yeah, yes.
Okay, so, I don't know, from a standpoint of, now that we have those documents, some of the questions that were brought up on August 8th was, does there have to be a new public hearing to amend the PDD? There was some bantering back and forth. Charlie said off the top of his head, without research, he said yes. I don't know if we really have gone and done that research, but I would agree with you, there probably had to be a public hearing.
I'm still,
Yeah, and I don't think we would object to that or dispute that. We want to do this right. So, if we need a public hearing to do that, then we're obviously going to participate in that. But we just needed guidance from you. After that meeting, it seemed like you guys needed to get up to speed and weren't able to give us really the direction to.
And I'm really glad that there isn't as much crisis. I don't want to drag this out till September of next year and put Charlie and you guys and the buyer in a crisis for September 15th. But this gives us enough time to take a look at, I don't quite understand, there was discussion on August 8th that there was dialogue, I love that term, in 2019, I'm assuming with Jeff Benway, our DPW Commissioner, Dan Hausa, whoever else that said, oh yeah, put the PDD over both parcels, both the commercial and whatever, which didn't make sense to us. But once again, we've gone back, that dialogue seems to have been verbal, and that's one of those, Josh wasn't here back then, I wasn't here, most of us weren't here.
Well, the final PDD plan does include the entire.
I understand that. And I wonder, because there was so much discussion on August 18th, does it make sense that if you go for amended PDD and do we truncate it down to just the parcel that is the residential? Because that's where building 7 is going to be.
That's kind of what we're asking for. We are asking for clarification on that parcel.
Okay.
To amend for that parcel.
I
And
guess.
that's what we need, we just need to understand.
Yeah.
It's going to be a public hearing. Maybe we look at it, we talk about what is the next step for this so that we're not caught
Yeah.
not being able to explain what they can do on that parcel.
I think we, now knowing the fact pattern in September of next year, we have 4 board meetings the rest of the year, 2 in November, 2 in December. I'm sure the next board meeting is 3 weeks from now. Queuing up a resolution to set a public hearing. Now, I don't know, can we set it for November 21st? Probably not. Probably would have to be set for December 5th because this is probably one of those no less than 10, no more than 20. We'd have to get it in our paper, the Webster Herald, blah, blah, blah. But in that time frame between Ann, you, and Charlie, and any other town legal staff, what are you asking for? And I think you just said the PDD amendment, you're just looking for a clarification on the residential part.
What we don't want is it to be exclusively senior. And that's the way it's being interpreted now by town staff.
Right, and actually,
And I don't,
and you
I'm
know
not
he's
saying
like,
he's wrong. I'm
please
just
go
saying-
back and watch the tape, because there was a lot of back and forth, and it was funny, and I'm paraphrasing what Charlie said on tape that night, is that, well, it looks like the intention was for senior housing, but there's nothing overt in the writing that says it can't be senior housing and can't be something else. That's ambiguous, so we'd have to figure
And
out.
that's fine, that's why I think we need clarification, so that
That's
every,
exactly what we need, is clarification.
that everybody understands what it
It may or
is.
may not be an amendment of the PDD, but it's going to definitely be a
So
clarification.
it could be an interpretation.
And I think that would be where you would make a presentation, not you, the applicant would make a presentation, and there would be a public hearing.
So,
Well, the other thing is that we have, I don't know if we have to move the lot line, or move the zoning line either. That's another thing we have to clarify.
is that
If
because?
we do, we'd have to make it that part of the application. Because
Does-
part of this parcel that's in the, this piece, this particular lot, is partially MC and partially MHR.
The zoning line goes through the parcel that
Right
this
through the parcel.
buyer wants to buy to put building 7
Yeah,
up
and-
for,
And
okay.
actually, all around this property is multifamily
Yeah.
housing. I mean, it's, you know, that's pretty much what it is, other than the MC in, to the north. So I think we need to clarify that issue too, and that could be part of the application.
And I'll tell you what, because I might be coming across wrong, and I don't want to drag you through a terrible process that you don't need to go through. If the PDD is determined to be okay to have whatever you called it, workforce housing, because it's not overtly specific to senior housing, it's possible you don't have to do an amendment to the PDD, the one from 2019 sticks. I don't know if that's the case. I don't know if you've done any research on that. Like I said, go back and listen to the tape. There was some back and forth about whether that PDD from 2019 is overtly specifically senior housing. Just because you came to get it for senior housing, is it still in place where it could allow for this workforce housing? That's number one, and that's a legal thing. And Charlie or John DeMarco or Kyle Taylor or whoever will have to get the town side of that. And I know you're representing the client. Second thing is, you make a very good point. If the zoning line goes right through the parcel, and I assume Charlie is looking to sell just that parcel, not the whole thing.
He's looking to sell the whole thing, but that's the only one that's part of this.
Is he selling the whole thing to this buyer?
No.
So that,
If there's any
moving into
buyers
the
out
zoning, I mean, you know, because we don't have a crisis thing, let's do it right.
Exactly, that's what we
And
want to
it
do.
is odd to have, Josh, is it normal to have a zoning line go through the middle of a parcel?
Well, yeah, this is a big parcel when they bought it. I think it was that way when they bought it.
Yeah, I mean, we do have several examples of that situation throughout town. It's not ideal, but yes.
I couldn't even venture to guess what the process is to move the zoning line over to meet the parcel line. But that's where you and the town attorneys will figure that out, right?
Yeah, so that's, I guess that's what we're doing. The next step is what? Do we talk to Charlie, we figure
I
out
think-
if we want to do
And
a,
if you're representing the client, then you're gonna get with the town attorney's legal representation over the next month or two, and figure out what the best process is. Because like I said, I'm not looking to have you have an elongated process if we look and say, they don't really need to do that. But we wanna do it right.
but either way, we're going to need a clarification, either an interpretation from the board as to whether this is exclusively senior housing or whether it could be any kind of multi.
Couldn't agree with you more, Ann, and you know what, as you know, because you have been a town attorney before, nobody on this board is an attorney, so how does the board make that determination? We go to our legal counsel and we get that advice. So we need to get that, and Charlie, we're not prepared for that tonight, but I think we can get prepared for that relatively quickly. Make sense?
Yeah, so I guess I don't want it to linger again, so probably tomorrow we'll schedule a meeting.
That's fine.
So,
And-
I mean, that's what we need to do. We need to keep moving on.
Can I
We
be
already
on that
lost
meeting?
this application.
May I be in on that meeting?
If you did.
Now, some people in town, they say, don't get Flaherty in a meeting, he's a distraction. But I would kind of like to be at that meeting because, like I said, we're trying to create a more customer-friendly process for our citizens, but also for developers and engineering firms. And I just want to make sure we're not sending you through a process at the boards that doesn't need to be done. And if you watch that tape, there was enough back and forth about, well, maybe this current PDD covers workforce housing, because it's not specific.
How about if you contact Mr. Flaherty's administrative assistant, Kim Doyle, give her a call tomorrow and set up a meeting with you and me, the supervisor, and Josh, sorry, I'd like to bring you into, and anybody you want to bring, and we'll have a meeting. She can set it up in one of the rooms there. She has my schedule, she has the supervisor's schedule, and she has Josh's schedule, so
All right,
set up something.
Is it 872-7068 still?
You got it?
Yep.
Yeah.
All right.
I'll buy the coffee in. Let's do it.
Okay, all right,
Thank you.
good. Does any board members have any questions?
I know I feel like I just dominated
Anything you
that
want to
thing.
tell me? Okay, thank you.
Thanks.